I'm cold, so it warms me up. It's like a security blanket as well.
It really is.
I feel weird not holding one.
Motto I live by. Have y'all seen The Office? The show, The Office? Y'all like Dwight on there?
Yes.
He said, whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I don't do it. So I'd say that right there. I'm the RTI/data coach at Mount Juliet High School. I've been that, this is my second year. And after this spring, it'll be 9.5 years at Mount Juliet High School. Before that, I was the economics and government teacher and personal finance. It's a little bit kind of like what you said a minute ago, like getting kids to realize like what they may be good at, or what, when they get help in English or math, like maybe that opens up their eyes to a career they hadn't really thought of. Another way that my job deals with that is I get to come up with the stuff that goes on during RTI. So this interview and like the stuff for juniors, the ACT stuff, I get to help, or I basically design all that and get help from teachers and some other people like Mr. Peach with doing that. So it's kind of a combination of things. It's not really just one area, it's a combination of all of that.
I am one of the art teachers here at Mount Juliet High School. I also teach art history and AP art history, and I've been here, I believe this is my third year.
First job, I think, was working at O'Charlie's at the corporate office. My dad works there, and I like filed stuff if they needed stuff moved. Whatever they needed help with, that's basically what I did in the summer when I was a junior and senior in high school. Did that for 2 summers, and then the first semester when I was in college, I worked there. And so that was probably like 2 years, roughly, on and off, not full time, but on and off. At O'Charlie's for a little while, and then I got a job doing landscaping in the summer. So I worked like 40 or 50 hours a week in the summer, and then when I went back to school, I would work like, I didn't have class on Fridays normally, so I'd work Fridays and then sometimes Saturday, so at least 1 day a week while school was in session, and then some weeks it would be 2 days.
My first job was just babysitting and pet sitting and yard work in the neighborhood, just going around pulling weeds for people and mowing yards. I have had probably between 10 and 12 different jobs. Some of my favorites, well, I love teaching, so this is top of the list. Some of the most, I wouldn't even say favorite, but probably the most random or entertaining, working retail as a stylist in Los Angeles was a lot of fun. I worked with David Henry from Wizards of Waverly Place.
Oh, bro, that's so cool.
Shaun White, Zach Galifianakis. I worked with Zac Efron, stylist, the stylist for The Pretty Little Liars, Fred Armisen from Saturday Night Live. Not to name drop or anything, but.
The most fun job, probably when I was a senior in college. I worked as a runner at a law firm downtown. So I got to do a bunch of random stuff. Like they would have cases that needed to be filed at certain courts. Some of them were in Nashville, some of them we had to drive to. And I got to walk around downtown a bunch. I got to learn like where stuff was downtown. And when I drove, I got to make extra money. They would pay me like 55 cents a mile or something like that. In addition to I think I was making $10 an hour doing that. So that was fun. It was pretty low stress and I made good money. So probably the most fun I've had.
Probably the camp counselor. I loved that. I did art lessons and was a camp counselor at 2 different special needs camps, which encouraged me to join in with Best Buddies here at Mount Juliet High School because it's just really fun and fulfilling.
Landscaping probably. I mean, I like that job, but it was probably the least fun because of the heat and then all that stuff in the summer.
I was not a huge fan of being a pharmacy tech. It's just too much to remember, and I couldn't pronounce half the words, so when I'd have to call people and say, hey, your prescription needs to be refilled, and they'd ask what the prescription was, I would just...
When I was in college, I took an education class when I was a freshman because I thought I may like education because my mom was a teacher, my aunt was a guidance counselor, my uncle was a principal in Lebanon, so I thought I may like that. So I took the class, and then I decided after I took that class I wanted to be a teacher. And then when I graduated, Mr. Brown remembered me from high school, and he hired me, and it's really how I got over here.
Well, this is what I wanted to do, and I was thinking about transferring to a school in Los Angeles, and I realized they didn't really have the programs that I wanted in Los Angeles. But MTSU actually had like a 6-month guarantee, basically, where they help you find a job. And then I ended up getting a job in 6 months in Nashville in a school, and then 3 years later, I transferred here when this job opened up.
I have never been fired. I've quit. All the jobs I've had, I've quit on good terms with the employer, so don't have any good stories about that.
I did quit the pharmacy tech job fairly quickly, but I was always told early on from my parents and everybody I knew, if you didn't like a job, don't try to get fired from it. Try to write it out and make the best of it, and then always give your 2 weeks notice, because you never know who you're going to need as a reference down the road.
Probably when I was doing landscaping, I was cutting this lady's yard, and it was like right at the last 2 weeks I was working there, because I knew I was going to stop working there and go back to school for my senior year of college. And her yard was like really shaded, and it just rained, and it was sloped, like the slope went pretty steep. So I was on the mower, and I don't know why I thought I could do this, but I thought I could turn and go down and stop. There's no brakes on the mower. You have to pull back to try to go backwards. Well, after about 5 or 10 feet of sliding, I was like, I'm not going to be able to stop. So I had to slam into a fence, and I broke the fence, and my boss had to pay for the damage for it. So that's probably the biggest accident I've had.
Don't be too proud to take any job. I mean, I've got great memories and experiences from all of the jobs that I've held, and I use them in teaching when I've got students that have questions about where they want to move, what they want to do after high school, and I don't regret any of the jobs that I've had, and I think that they've helped to shape me into the person and the teacher that I am today.
I would say find something that you're interested in. Don't go to a place if you're not kind of interested in what that place has to offer. Just make sure you know where you're applying to. Don't just apply to get a job. Have a reason why you want to work there. Have something that you either like or that you think you'd be good at. I would consider money, but make sure it's something you're going to actually look forward to going to do.
Your career doesn't necessarily have to be your passion. You can have a job that gives you stability and gives you the funds or the time to find your passion. I have several friends who went to school for one thing and their job is in a completely different field, and they're okay with their job, and they have the time and the money to travel because that's their passion, and they didn't necessarily want to find a career with traveling. I happen to find my passion in a career teaching art and working with people, but that's not for everybody, so just don't feel like you have to limit yourself based off of what you love doing or what you think you're good at doing. Just keep all of your options open.
Pick something that you love, obviously, because if you go to work and you hate your job every day, you're not going to be a good worker and you're not going to want to go. Pick something that you can be good at, because if you go in and you're a failure just all the time and you never really have success, you're not going to have fun in that job. And you're going to have to consider pay, obviously. So don't just pick, this is the highest paying job, I want to get this. Try to combine the two, something where you can make money and do something that you love.
My most enjoyable part about this job, I went to Mount Juliet High School, so I always loved the school. I loved my teachers. I loved just the community. And so getting to be a part of that is really great. I just love the support that I have from my coworkers and from the administration. I wanted to start or get art club back up and running, and then get National Art Honor Society up and running, and they just asked what they could do to help make that happen. So I don't ever feel like I'm kind of working solo. I've got a great team of people that I work with, and I genuinely love everybody that I work with.
I get to interact with all kinds of different people. Every day I've got certain things that I do, but then there's some days where it's just totally random. An assistant principal needs help with something, or a teacher needs help with something, or Miss Rainey needs help. that's the part I like the most. Is I get to go around and see all different parts of the school. Like when you're in a classroom as a teacher, you stay in your area. Like I was on the far end of the B floor, and all I really dealt with was just that side of the building. But now I get to walk around and do all kinds of stuff. I get to see all the different classes we offer and just all the different things that are going on. I get to see the bigger picture and not just my little area from when I was a teacher.
The least enjoyable part of my job. I'm not great at getting my grades in on time, so that would be probably, I wouldn't even say the least enjoyable part. I'm just not great at the timeline of grading it and then putting it in the computer, so.
I guess some days when there's some days there's a lot more stuff that I have to do than others. Like when it all piles up, like if there's certain things that are due or have to get turned in or that I need to help a teacher or somebody with, if it's all piles up, I mean, that's kind of enjoyable, but just the stress of having to do it all at once, that's probably the least enjoyable part of it.
During the summers, I'll kind of rotate through working at a daycare. So that's one random job I forgot about. So I'll work at a daycare. Sometimes I'll nanny or babysit. I'll paint people's houses for them. So last summer I painted 2 houses. So just odd jobs here and there to keep me busy. I don't like having nothing to do for too long of a period of time, so.
Yep, I drive for Lyft on the weekends. So there's some people that are drunk, but most of the time they're just people from out of town, or they're going out to eat with their family or spouse or whoever. But yeah, there are some people.
Choosing a career, just keep your options open. And you could change careers. Nobody says that once you start one job or career, you can't change your mind. I mean, people change, your passions change, life changes. So if you pick one thing and then 10 years down the road you realize it's not for you, do something different, find something different. Just try to make yourself happy.
Thank you all.
You're welcome.